My name is Kristen Bell, and I am the Budget Director for the Tacoma School District. Today, I'm going to share with you our planned budget for the 22-23 school year that we will be sharing with our Board of Directors at our formal budget hearing on July 14th. The goals of our budget hearing are twofold. One is to inform the board and the public of our budget use of resources. This allows the public and the board to provide feedback, interactions, questions, etc., relative to our budget. One of the purposes of this particular presentation is to give the community some insights as to what it is we're going to be budgeting so that if you do have questions or comments or concerns, you can share them at the budget hearing. Secondly, the goal of the budget hearing allows us to provide the preliminary budgets for all of our funds, not just the general fund, as well as a 4-year forecast of our budgets for each fund. Our board of directors have provided us with budget development guiding principles, and these principles are used regularly by the superintendent and his cabinet when faced with decision making relative to how to spend resources. Here you will see the percentage of our planned budget for the 22-23 school year by strategic plan goal. We plan to have 75.26% of our expenditures spent on supporting the academic excellence strategic plan goal, 2.63% supporting early learning programming, 1.96% supporting our health and safety, 0.2% on partnerships, and 19.95% on supporting the operations of the district. What I'd like to mention on the operations component is that is not only central office or district-wide support. That also includes items such as transportation, maintenance, custodial, food service. Just to remind everyone that the school district does operate using different funds. We have 6 funds that we oversee. However, 5 of them we budget for. The blue trust fund on the right, we do not budget for. Those dollars are provided to the district in trust, and we adhere to the directions of the donors in passing those out. So we do not budget for those. However, the other 5 we do. As far as our general fund goes, we are anticipating about $571.4 million in revenues in the 22-23 school year. This represents about a $17.5 million increase from the current 21-22 budget. On the expenditure side, we anticipate about $598.5 million of expenditure capacity needed, of which about 11.3 of that is an increase from the current 21-22 school year. The fund balance drawdown is essentially revenues minus expenditures, and that is equating to about a little over $27 million of fund balance use in the 22-23 budget. The good news with this number is it does represent about $6.1 million less than the budgeted fund balance drawdown for 21-22. Just to remind everyone, relative to our fund balance and the purpose and uses of it, board policy requires us to maintain a minimum of 5% of our planned revenues in fund balance so that we have reserves to be used for emergencies, extraordinary events. If our cash flow fluctuates, we'd need to rely on that, or it impacts our bond ratings and it prevents us from needing to borrow. You will notice that when our budget will have more than a 5% reserve, and this is due to our use of ESSER dollars. Typical uses for our fund balance are program carryover and curriculum for the 22-23 school year. We've had enrollment changes and decreases, which in order to maintain our programming, we need to rely on that fund balance in order to keep programming supported. When looking at where our funding comes from on the revenue side, the majority of our funding does come from state apportionment, which is directly related to our enrollment. The second highest area of revenue is our local levy. And thanks to our generous voters, we do have $76.4 million of levy revenues planned in our 22-23 budget. Thirdly, you'll see on the right there in the gray that our federal ESSER funding is about 56.2 million of planned revenue, and then followed by federal at 33.8. And then lower on the list are our local non-tax and other local revenues that we do receive. On the expenditure side, you'll see the majority of our expenditures do go to the classroom, supporting $257.9 million in certificated salaries. And on the classified salaries, about 91.4 million. The combination of the certificated and classified salaries have a combined benefits of and payroll tax of 123.5 million. We plan to spend about $70.9 million on contractual services and about 51.7 in supplies and materials. We do have some capacity built in for travel and equipment, but it is nominal. Here you'll see a 4-year budget overview for the general fund. Again, the 22-23 school year, we expect to receive about 76.5 in local taxes, 277.2 in state basic education. That is the apportionment, which is that enrollment driven number. About 109.96 in other state categorical resources, and then 107.7 in federal general and special purpose revenues, as well as other grant foundations or other resources as such. On the expenditure side, we plan to spend 472.95 in the salaries and benefits, as mentioned on either slide, and 125.6 of expenditures. And then there's that fund balance impact of 27.09 of use. You'll see a big difference between the 22 and 23 school year on the expenditure side and the revenue side, going from on the expenditure side 598.54 to 526.78. That is solely directly related to ESSER funding. And you'll notice that the future year budgets do have expenditures matching the revenues. That is intentional, though in the actual year of budget, we may need to rely on fund balance. We don't want to plan for that in a future state. As far as our other funds go, these are the amounts of expenditure authority that we will be requesting. For debt service fund, we're asking for $69.1 million of expenditure authority. Associated Student Body Fund, a little bit over $4 million. Transportation Vehicle Fund, 800,800, which will help support the replacement of 6 of our school buses. Capital Projects Fund, we're asking for expenditure authority of $143.7 million to help support the continuation of our buildings of new schools, as well as our technology purchases through the tech levy revenue. Here's a 4-year picture of our other funds based on the data we have as of today. So the debt service is impacted by the payment amounts that we spend. ASB is based on trend data. Transportation Vehicle Fund is based on the buses that we plan to spend, and those are pretty consistent in nature. And then your capital projects forecast, we are looking at buildings that we have to build or schools that we have to build as well as technology expenditures that we know about. Looking forward, so today through July 14th, this recording will be available for the community. We will also have a budget calculator interactive tool available for you to look at the budget at a deeper level and play around with the numbers and provide feedback as to where you'd like to see more or less money resources invested. There's going to be a draft of the general fund budget posted to the website, as well as, again, the formal budget hearing will be held on July 14th. And then August 11th is our planned budget adoption. I'd like to just thank the various budget contributors which consists of the board itself. Our superintendent cabinet team has had to make many decisions throughout the process. Our budget and program managers also have a large piece of developing this budget. And then our community outreach. So we do hope to hear from all of you that are listening with feedback and comments through either the budget hearing at the budget hearing itself, or through the budget calculator, or through surveys. And then I'd just like to personally thank my budget team for all of the hard work that they've done to develop this budget. Thank you everyone for listening, and I hope to see you on the 14th. Thank you.